Hello, good afternoon, and welcome back to Le Mans in France. It is round 2 of the 2022 Moto E World Cup. And here we go. It's the second time we're seeing this new formatted qualifying session. E-Pole is a thing of the past. Now we have Q1 and Q2, like the other Grand Prix classes out there. The top 8 riders from this one will be have gone. Coming into this weekend, Moto E looks like this. Eric Granado leads the way with 50 points ahead of Dominic Aegerter and Mikel Pons. Well then, it's all to play for. But these are the combined practice times. It's not Moto 2. You can forget that. So we're going to try that again, because this is Moto E that we got coming up. What you are about to see, in fact, is Jordy Torres, your reigning World Cup winner, I should say, from last year and the year before. He actually finished the combined free practice times top of the pile. We're not going to see the results from free practice 2 at the moment. We'll just have to discuss them instead, ladies and gentlemen, because that's what you have to do sometimes with live television. Jordy Torres there, he set a 1:44.2 in the second free practice session earlier on today. And then after him, you had Matteo Ferrari. So it's the two only World Cup winners that we have on the grid, who are positions 1 and 2 in the standings. Kevin Zannoni was a surprise name up there in the 3rd spot, ahead of Cardelus, making his first appearance of 2022. And Eric Granado, your series leader, in 5th. Keep an eye today, because, Neil Morrison, I'll bring you in shortly, well, lots of riders have some very recent experience here at Le Mans, having competed in the 24-hour, and they're going quite strong, namely Nicolo Canepa and Xavi Forés in positions 6 and 7. So, Neil, my question to you is, how much are you looking forward to this qualifying session? Do we even have any idea who's going to be coming out on top?
Yeah, I'm super excited for this, Matt, because as you just mentioned there, we've got a couple of names towards the front that maybe have featured that high up Moto E running order so far, especially in 2022 in Jerez. And yeah, good to see Jordy Torres, member of course of this man's squad. Sito Pons running 2 riders this year. Torres a little underwhelming, I think, in that first round in Jerez, with just a 5th and 7th place finish to his name. I mean,
quiet
by Jordy's high standards in Moto E, obviously over the past 2 years, that is relatively quiet.
But I spoke to him yesterday, Neil, after we did, myself and Amy Reynolds did the Moto E live preview show with Mikel Pons, and I went and had a chat with Jordy, and I said, I like to think of those sorts of weekends as the type that you'll look back on if you are World Cup winner again, and you think, you know, when he goes on to have more podiums and wins at the end later on in the year, you look at that and think, yep, I'm glad I took that 6th and 7th rather than binning it. And yeah, that's that sort of weekend, isn't it?
That's been his credo pretty much since he entered into this category. Jordy Torres, you'll be amazed to know that he's finished every single Moto E race that he's ridden inside the top 7, bar 1, which was that obvious Misano crash at the end of last year when he was taken out by Dominic Aegerter. So,
gosh, what a stat. Great stuff there then. So we just saw Hector Garzo on our screens. He didn't have the triumphant return he would have been hoping for in Moto E. He finished, he's in 9th position in the series, taking a 4th in race 1 and crashed out of race 2, which wasn't ideal for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And Garzo 11th in the combined free practice sessions that we've had so far today. So he'll be appearing in Q1. That is just about to come up, as will this man, surprisingly, Mikel Pons, who was riding for, well, racing for the victory in both of the first round of the season at Jerez, both the races there. Surprisingly, Mikel Pons a bit off colour in the free practice sessions so far today. He was 14th in the combined standings, so he'll be there along with Maria Herrera, who we just saw on our screens. So Pons will certainly be one of the favourites to qualify in this session. Top 2 riders, of course, go through to Q2, which then follows up, and we've got 10 minutes each per session. Sakari Okubo coming here on the back of a fine double outing at Jerez. Okubo was pretty impressive, pretty consistent, 6th and a 5th place for the Japanese rider in round 1.
Yeah, I think he's been a real good dark horse as a Kubo. He sort of was a quiet, like, top 8, top 6 rider last year, and he's made a step up now. He was sort of off the back of the leading group last time, but now he's edging closer and closer towards it, so I think he's done very well indeed. We got a green flag at the end of pit lane. Riders heading out. The first one there is actually Mattia Casadei. He had a crash earlier on today, but he's all right. Should we pass down to pit lane briefly? We've got Fran Wild down in there, seeing what's going on. Fran, just give us an impression of what it's like, conditions down there, out on track, etc. as riders head out onto circuit at the moment.
Yes, hello. Well, I mean, the general impression, I think you can see from the TV, is absolutely glorious. It's a very far cry from the qualifying we had for Moto E here last year. So great news for everyone, really. Depending, of course, on the conditions we get on Sunday for race 2. It might be nice to get a taster if we are to get some rain then. But yeah, it's all glorious, beautiful sunshine. Everyone seems pretty chill. And as you heard with the lovely beeps down the microphone, they've all headed out for Q1.
Yeah, thanks very much, Fran. Good to hear you down in pit lane. And just to give you an idea of the order of the combined free practice standings, because we didn't see it at the start of this session. Torres was fastest from Ferrari, Zanoni, Cardelus, Granado, Canepa, Forres and Egeter. And then basically after that, outside the top 8, the order was on the left-hand side of your screen. So these are the men that did not make the cut for the top 8. And speaking of Jordy Torres, I think we can pass back down to Fran. She is with the man himself. Fran.
I am indeed. Speaking of Jordy Torres, hello Jordy.
Hello.
Your quickest so far this weekend seems to be a step forward from Jerez, where you weren't quite in that podium fight. How are you feeling here? It's all going pretty well and it's lovely weather.
Yeah, the weather is completely amazing here. Also the track are amazing, and for sure here we have more confidence to work on the bike, because on Jerez we stay there, no, on the shadows, and we don't go at maximum, because we know that make a one fall or one crash is at 0 for the championship, and it's better stay there on the back, catch some points and continue working. And here shines better our work, no, understand better how is this new engine and also these new tires, and continue to work. We'll see here if our competitive is still in this way, but for sure we try.
Well, it's the best start ever so far. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Fran and Jordy Torres. Fair play to Jordy. He's honest as ever. Also, when I spoke to him yesterday, just had a little chat about how much he just loves just being a Moto E rider, coming to the Grand Prix paddock. 7 rounds this year, 14 races. He's not doing any other series this year. Some of the other series he used to compete in clashed with Moto E this year. So he's happy. He's a proper happy chappy he is being here in Moto E. Just loves it. He's getting on a little bit now in respecting Grand Prix terms, so he's not exactly here in Moto E trying to make his way into Moto 2 and then MotoGP again. Just loves racing, fighting for victories and World Cup titles.
And he's doing rather well, isn't he? Is Jordy. Always good to hear his impressions. Not quite in the ballpark, but he got some important points on the board. So interested to see how we get on at the start of this session. We mentioned Mikel Pons being in this session. Of course, another big hitter in Moto E this year is the man that was just on your screens there, Mattia Casadei, the number 27, Jordy Torres' teammate, who had a bit of a nightmare start to the day. He crashed out at the start of FP2, a big crash which led to a red flag. He was obviously okay, but yeah, the bike was a bit second-hand after that. So Casadei found himself 16th in free practice. So he has it all to do in this session.
Yeah, looking for more podiums and turning into a victory at some point is Mattia Casadei. Just looking at this beautiful stats pack that we have provided by ePaddock IT and our very own Fran Wild. So much beautiful information on it. I'm going to try and do our best as possible to reel it out over the course of the broadcast. So thank you to you guys all for preparing that sensational stuff. Worth pointing out, no Bradley Smith here again this weekend. He's actually been replaced by Andrea Mantovani, the number 9 that you can see on your screens here. He's still ruled unfit to participate.
Yeah, Bradley actually had a really unfortunate moment just there during the Le Mans 24-hour endurance race. Obviously was hit after, well, it was the start, wasn't it? The mass start. He was hit from behind in a pretty ugly crash. And yeah, Bradley, I think, broke one or fractured a vertebrae in that fall. He still hasn't fully recovered from that, unfortunately, and didn't make it for round 2. So hopefully we'll see Bradley back at the next Moto E round, which of course comes at the Italian Grand Prix, Mugello, in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, absolutely. Wishing you very well, Bradley Smith. Hope to see you soon. And, of course, best of luck to Mantovani this weekend. So, across the line we come. Alex Skrigg coming across the line. He was setting on the personal best laps. Garza's another big hitter in this session, as well as Akubo. So, only 2 spots up for grabs. So, someone is going to be disappointed because, of course, this was providing the lineup on the grid for both races 1 and 2 here this weekend. One tomorrow afternoon and the other one Sunday afternoon as well. I think Skrigg had a good weekend back in Estoril last weekend, didn't he? He won the European Moto 2 race, or one of them. Were there 2 races or something like this? Did
it was
rather
actually
well.
Lucas Tulovic who won the 2 Moto 2 races.
He was on the podium though, was he?
Yes.
That's
so
it.
yeah, it was a bit of a chaotic weekend for Moto 2 at times there, but Tulovic did the double, and I think that's why he's not back out here on the Moto E machine replacing Smith again. After doing that, he wants to concentrate on that championship.
Fair enough, fair enough. Yep, Lucas in the best position of his life to take a title in Europe there. So good for him for sitting out, and probably needs a rest after 2 weekends on the bounce, doesn't he?
Tell that to Dominic Egerter as well.
Well, true, actually. You're right, Fran, aren't you?
Super sport duty.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the moment, though, Dominic having another weekend where he's done enough to get into Q2, and then we'll see. It was an interesting second row, wasn't it, in Jerez, with all of the sort of more established names on that row too. So we'll have to see what shuffles out today. But yeah, at the moment, then it looks like Garza's got the hammer down after a bit of an uncharacteristic couple of sessions.
Yeah, we've got lots of fast lap times coming in here. Fran Casadei, Garza, as you mentioned, and Hikaru Kubo just there, the number 78 coming out off the final turn. Kubo, wasn't it just his second ever Moto E race, and he was up there fighting with the best of them in the race that we had here last year before getting taken out up at turn 1?
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, you remember on the warm-up laps of the race, or the sighting laps that we had last year, had a couple of riders deck it, didn't we? Mikel Pons was one of them. He's hoping not to do that here this year as well. So yes, I was speaking to someone from Valerio Piccini, the press officer from Energica. He was telling me that lots of people are very impressed with the lap times here today. We're just 2 practice sessions so far already, not too far off the lap record, but still plenty of speed left in the tanks, you could say, on this one. So no wonder the times are coming quicker and quicker. So we're actually so close to the 143s now, which is lap record pace in this Moto E category. Yeah,
143.4 is the Moto E lap record here, outright lap record, I should say.
I was going to say, sorry, just with the new bike, obviously, like you said, you've got the new inverter, a couple of different changes internally, less weight. It seems to have made less of a difference here in Le Mans, and it may just simply be as they get more time on it and learn how to ride it as quickly as possible. Obviously, with the 2 tests in Jerez, a little bit interrupted by rain. But yeah, it's interesting. Seems to be a little bit less of a deficit to the lap record here at Le Mans.
Yeah, thanks very much, Fran. Absolutely, that is a good point. These guys still finding, I think, a proper base setting, a proper setup that is to their absolute liking after such limited pre-season running, which was affected by the rain, as you mentioned, Fran. But look at this, we have at the moment Casadei and Akubo first and second in this session, but a whole host of names are improving, gradually getting faster as this session goes on. And Alcoba improves, Skrigg, Akubo, Garza doesn't quite manage it. So a big couple of laps here coming up, because for Hector Garza, for example, he's not going to be mounting a victory challenge, man, if he's coming from the 4th or 5th row of the grid.
Quite potentially so. You know, if you really stuff up qualifying completely at this stage in the game, you can kiss goodbye really to a realistic chance, bar any disasters for other people, of victories or potentially even podiums. You're sort of looking at, right, well, top 6 if I have one of those classic comeback stories, like we've seen with I think Matteo Ferrari and Jerez last year was one I was thinking of.
Casadei comes across the line, you can see there, just 12 thousandths of a second off his personal best. He still has 1 more flying lap to go, but 1 man.
Oh, and he nearly loses it in towards turn 1. Goodness me. Casadei, well, that's his lap got away from him. He won't be improving at all, so he's going to be keeping his eye on the timing screens if he can actually see any at all. Some red sectors coming in from the likes of Mark Alcoba. Pons had one, but that moment in the final part put him out of contention there. Could we see the number 70 Aspar rider, Mark Alcoba, go through into Q2, as well as Hector Garzo? That could have been a real costly error for Casadei.
Yeah, it could well be. I think he's just happy that he stayed on it, to be honest, because if there's one place on this track that you do not want to crash, it is up at turn 1, obviously. Alcoba's lost a little bit of time in the third sector, as has Garzo, and this could be quite costly for Hector Garzo.
Yeah, it could well be, and he's not going to get across the line to actually set another lap as well. So has Casadei gotten away with it? Looking at Alcoba, navigating his way through these final 2 turns here. Out of them he comes, and across the line. Where will he place? He's currently 5th. He moves, doesn't at all. He's lost it all in the final sector. So does Garzo, and that's it. So Casadei's gotten away with it, it looks like.
Yep, absolutely. Although Mikel Pons, who's been pretty subdued in this session so far, Pons sitting in 6th, he has got 2 red crash helmets through splits 1 and 2. So we need to see where the number 71 LCR rider is on track, because he is potentially going to the top of the pile. Here he is.
He's one of the riders who's really adapted quickly to the new mechanics and setup of the Energica Ego Corsa. 15 kilograms lighter, but that was a moment and a half. He's one of the riders who's figured it out most, and I think he can be on track limits as well. So that is him potentially. Well, that's it. He's 2 seconds off. He's already had a moment. So unfortunately for Mikel Pons, it is not the continuation in good form that he had back in the Jerez. Of course, he was on pole position there for both races. A crash after setting the first round of flying laps for himself, actually. He went from the gravel to Parc Ferme and pole position. He won't be repeating that here in Le Mans.
He's got a big old job in his hands, does Mikel Pons. Starting from, well, he'll be starting from 16th, I think, based on his performance in this session.
14th.
Sorry, 14th, of course, man. I was using my calculations from the other Grand Prix classes. There, Matt nods his head as if, yeah, of course you did. Yeah.
Well, I can see he's visibly annoyed about that as well as Pons.
Yeah, it was a messy end to the lap. It wasn't just a mistake coming through the Shimano booth. He missed his apex at the following turn as well. But Pons has a bit of an uphill task then tomorrow ahead of him. He
joined myself and Amy Reynolds for the Moto E preview that we show on MotoGP's YouTube channel from these Thursdays. And he was saying how he actually prefers this Q1, Q2 format, and pretty much all the riders do. They prefer being able to build into a rhythm out on circuit and qualifying. That's why he was able to go straight through to Q2, and also, well, was building up already. He set the fastest lap of the weekend on his first lap there before he unfortunately binned it into the gravel. But no foolers in that session, Neil. Good to see.
Good to see. Yeah, that man will be mightily relieved after that moment up at turn 1.
I think that's him explaining to his team what happened up at turn 1.
Yeah, we're going to see a replay of that just now. This is Casadei hitting pretty much the fastest point on the track. This fearsome right-hander, and difficult to say what exactly happened there. Whether he had a bit of movement in the front that he wasn't expecting. You can see there, it's Xavi Cardolos there in the Avintia squad explaining what he saw from that.
Making a return to action is Xavi Cardolos. An injury put him out of contention in Jerez, so good to see him back and immediately on the pace as well, as he's directly through to Q2 as well. Here's what happened with Mikel Pons. Well, that was one issue there, and then going over track limits, his lap had already gone away from him, so we've clearly missed the 2 seconds that he lost.
Yeah, and then wide there you can see going into the following turn. So costly couple of corners that for Mikel Pons, but it is Casadei and Akubo that have made their way through the first qualifying session here Le Mans on Friday. Fran?
Just going to add, yeah, it's an interesting one, Le Mans, isn't it? Because it's also a track, obviously, where you have the 24 hours. And people like Nicolo Canepa, like, although he missed the, I think it was the second Moto E test because he was racing in the 24 hours. And then now we've come back here and he's suddenly taken that big leap up straight through to Q2. I think it's a bit of a different venue for a lot of the guys, and a lot of the guys as well who have a lot of Moto 2 experience, for example, in the Moto 2 Europe European Championship, they don't come here because what's now Junior GP, it was only ever the Moto 3 class that came to Le Mans. So it's always an interesting one, and I feel like Mikel Pons is just a bit of a bad luck for him track so far.
Yeah, fair enough, Fran, absolutely. Well, it will be Mattia Casadei and Hikari Akubo going through to Q2. These are results from qualifying 1 so far. Alex Skrig in 3rd place ahead of Hector Garza at the end of that. Mark Alcoba 5th, and as we mentioned, Mikel Pons 6th. Maria Herrera 7th ahead of Mantovani, Manfredi and Finello there in 10th place. They'll be starting from the back row of the grid. The trio of Italians. Don't go anywhere. Coming up next, Q2. Welcome back then. So Q2, let's get it going. The 10 riders fighting it out for pole position here. 23 degrees Celsius. Feels a lot more than that in our commentary box. No shade coming in here now. We actually need sunscreen on our arms and stuff to stop us getting burned. We're just moving steadily further and further away from our screens, actually, myself and Neil. We burn easily, so we do. So if we get any riders wrong or we can't read the times properly, it's because we're about a mile away from the timing screens now, trying to keep some shade. These guys don't care about shade, though. The fans out there in the beautiful sunshine all day long. There's Moto E getting ready then. So with no real indication who we could be getting on pole position on the front row of the grid, no less. Will the Q1 session be more advantageous to the likes of Akubo and Casadei in this one? They weren't able to break into the 143s just yet. Still a way to go before they're on lap record pace, but we shall see. Then, of course, tomorrow afternoon, completely different dear.
Could do about half of that bend, I think.
Can you touch your toes still?
Possibly, but
I can't. Not a good day. Could this be a good day, though, for the likes of Nicolo Canepa? Xavi Forés, for example, really outperforming himself compared to his previous form in Jerez. He finished 7th in the times, behind Canepa in 6th. They have a very recent experience here from Le Mans, of course. So they're very impressive indeed.
Yeah, Forés was a little bit surprisingly off the pace back in Jerez, down in, where was he, 14th and 11th in the 2 races that we had there. And, you know, speaking to some people that were pre-season testing, they had Forés down as a contender this year. I mean, that's a proper decorated World Superbike rider, had a good and successful spell in British Superbikes as well. Yeah, a little surprising to see him so far off the pace as he got to grips with these Energica Corsa machines.
There is the only winner from Moto E so far this year. 50 points, full points across the board for Eric Granado after 2 great victories back in Jerez. Very much redeeming himself in that venue from the previous year when he was crashed out of leading-ish positions. Dominique Aegerter been on the podium 5 times out of 6 races, if my maths is correct, or something like that in 2022. He missed out on the podium in the 2nd race in Le Mans, in Jerez, sorry, after getting 2nd place in the first one. Obviously, 2nd place going to Mikel Pons in Jerez race 2. Kevin Zanoni had a very good FP2 as well, didn't he? But first, let's go back to Fran. What have you got for us?
Hello, yes. I didn't want to annoy him too much after a very difficult Q1, Hector Garza, that is. So I didn't grab him for a live interview, but I just asked him, like, what's the problem? What are you missing here? What are you trying to improve? And he said, honestly, he just doesn't have a very good feeling, and it's mainly Sector 3 where he's just losing a chunk of time. So a little bit frustrated, did kind of sign off with a smile that at least there's 14 races this year, so all is not lost. But also said that last year, obviously, he was here with the Moto 2 bike, and it's just very, very different. And some of the guys who have, you know, had that extra experience of the race weekend in Moto E last year, maybe he's just struggling a little bit to make up that difference. So nothing specific and no problem, certainly, but definitely looking for more in the races.
Yeah, thanks for that, Fran. Obviously, still in some ways, well, a rookie coming back to this class after 2 years in Moto 2, Hector Garza. So yeah, it's taken him just a bit of time to understand exactly what's up. I don't know, Fran, if Mikel Pons is close to you, can maybe understand or hear from him or his team what exactly went wrong from him, because it was surprising to see Mikel so far off the pace.
It was indeed. I will go and find out. He's currently deep in conversation as the guys head out for Q2 with some guys from the team, but I'll go over and see if I can ask him.
Of course, worth noting with Hector Garza, yes, he's actually not been here on a Moto E bike before either, because they were due to come here in the initial year, but then with the fire, of course, things got delayed until Germany was round one, wasn't it? So yeah, Hector Garza just finding his way round still, so whatever results he can get here tomorrow, well, it'll be a salvage job, and like he says, 14 race calendar, that is the good thing. 30 seconds in to this session then, we have riders out on track. First run coming up. Will we see someone new, a bit of a surprise name up towards the top? This is Xavi Forés, our first real look at him, because with his form back in Jerez, he was pretty much sort of absent and missing from the coverage, essentially. But here he is, our first real good look at him, the number 12. And there is Fonzi Nieto alongside him as well.
Yeah, when he's not racing in Moto E, Xavi Forés this year, he's actually rider coach to the MotoGP riders in the Pramac Ducati squad. Forés, of course, has one MotoGP appearance under his belt. That was back in 2016. And, well, a bit of different strategies here at the start of this session. One or two guys deciding to really leave their running until a little bit later in these 10 minutes, but they don't have a great deal of time, do they? Eric Granado here, just looking for a bit of free space on the track. And Fran, I believe you've got a bit of news about this man, Eric Granado's teammate, Mikel Pons.
Indeedy. I've just realised you guys are right above me in the Moto E bikes, aren't you, in the commentary box there? So yeah, I just asked Mikel what it is that he's lacking. Nothing specific, again, like Garza, just like, just not quite getting it in the groove, in the zone, pulling it all together. And also said that he had a crash this morning at the same place where he crashed on the sighting lap. It just seems to be one of those places that just has it in for him and his ambitions of the podium a little bit at this track. So yeah, nothing specific. Again, a little bit frustrated, but at least no problem, and he's perfectly fine after the crash. So yeah, we'll see what he can do in the races. Well,
Fran, if you come by the Pramac part of the pit, we'll give you a wave, because we're just above them, actually, as I've stood up, and I've just realised that solved all my shade problems, Neil. So I'm going to be a classic commentator. I'm going to stand up for this session. I saw the F1 lot do this in Miami. I didn't realise they stand up during the sessions. I feel really like we're really lazy, just sitting down all the time, but there we go. I saw one commentator who didn't even have any notes. I thought, goodness me, that's ambitious. Here is Jordy Torres then in a little group with Kevin Zanoni and Nicolo Canepa. They're on track together. That's, well, can be quite useful, but if the pace is very different between one rider or the other, that can be more of a problem than something of a benefit. The thing is with Moto E, the style of racing can be so different. You know, it's so exploratory in all these different sessions. Even when you get to qualifying, they're still learning and adapting, especially with the technology improving each year, the bike feeling slightly different, riders coming back to the class like Hector Garza. So what can these guys do in this lap? This would be, if we see Zanoni up there, this would be his best result so far.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, I think, the best weekend we've seen from Kevin Zanoni in this class. Obviously, big session coming up for Matteo Ferrari and, well, his Gresini teammate, Enea Bastianini, who is under the MotoGP lap record in FP2 today. He's with Fran.
Yes, he was indeed under the MotoGP lap record here today. Enea, thank you for giving us a brief chat. I see there's a few faces from the other Grand Prix classes down here in pit lane, but you're looking like you're enjoying this Q2 session. It's something different, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm enjoying now the Moto E. I have a friend, Mattia Casadei is my friend. I have a push a little bit because this morning he crashed really fast in the turn number 1, but in the first qualifying he stayed really fast, and now he can do a pole position.
I think he can. Mattia is kind of the Kimi Räikkönen of Moto E. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I know. No, this track is fantastic, and it's really enjoyable to see all the fun and with a circuit with a lot of story, no?
Definitely. Thank you so much for giving us a couple of minutes.
Thank you. Ciao.
Yeah, thank you very much, Enea Bastianini and Fran down there. Yes, he's very good friends with Mattia Casadei. They've got a little group. It's Bastianini, Tatsuki Suzuki, Mattia Casadei and Nicolo Bulega. They're all really close friends with each other. So good to see them hanging out as well. We've got our first sets of flying laps in. Not from everybody, though, but it is Kevin Zanoni, another Italian, up the top. And he's got 2 red sectors as well on his next flying lap. Dominic Aegerter, he's got a red sector in sector 1, as has Ferrari. They're positioned 6th and 7th. But what about the, well, seemingly pole position specialist of Eric Granado, your winner so far this year? He's in 5th at the moment. Torres, after the first flying laps, he's 3rd. He's following Zanoni now. Well, that could actually be quite a smart move.
Yeah, exactly, because, well, as you can see, Zanoni is the quickest man in the session, of course. This is his 2nd season in Moto E in 2022. Moving across from LCR last year to the 658 Squadra Corsa team, to the seat vacated by Mattia Casadei. And yeah, Zanoni is looking very, very strong here. On course to go even better still.
Tell you what, cracking riding style from him now. Really enjoyed him, proper feathering the throttle through there. Really trying to get as much drive as he possibly can. He's a lot smaller than I thought he was as well, Zanoni, as he goes faster once again. So 1:43.5. We're about a 10th off the lap record now of Granado's of the previous years. The best race lap actually goes to Nicky Tooley with a 1:43.4. So yes, getting closer and closer. 4 minutes left to go, and should everybody keep it up right, well, we could be seeing a new lap record in these new improved machines.
Yeah, here comes Domi Aegerter across the line. He goes to 2nd with a 43.8. Not so bad from the Swiss rider. Obviously coming after a hectic recent schedule. Kubo is up into 2nd place now. So impressive stuff from the man who's just qualified from Q1. Kubo was immediately fast, as we mentioned earlier, at this track a year ago on his debut on a Moto E machine here. Could he be an outside shot for a debut podium in the class?
Yeah, that would be something special, wouldn't it, for Japan and Kubo. And also the IO squad as well. They've not had so much success in recent times with Moto E, unfortunately for them. Kubo's coming on strong, though. What about Casadei? 0.004 of a second under at the halfway split. Zanoni's on the base as well. It's Gray because he's up top already. Torres is there too. Torres said he liked having Casadei as a teammate now because he can really push him to the limit. He didn't really have that luxury of the fast teammate last year. And Casadei, it's not just pushing Torres, he's beating him at the moment, but will he carry it through towards the end of the session?
Well, Enea Bastianini just told Fran that he believes this man can take pole position here after coming through Q1, and Casadei comes across the line. He does go to the top with a 1:43.568.
Very impressive indeed. The all-time lap record does actually belong to Nicky Tooley, a 1:43.4. We are closer still, but it's got away from him because some reason I guess he went over track limits. That's unfortunate for Casadei. He gets another crack at it now, though. What will it be at the first split? He'll be coming towards it now. He's up by 14 thousandths of a second in split 1. Nobody else has got red helmets at the moment. I can hear somebody pitting in. I think I heard some beeps in the back of my headset. Will they get one more lap? And yes, they will if they're on track at the moment.
Yep, Eric Granado has jumped up the order into 2nd, so decent stuff from the championship leader in this session so far. We haven't really seen so much from Jordy Torres, who hasn't quite been able to match the man he was following on track. Was, of course, Kevin Zanoni, our provisional pole sitter, but what about this from Casadei? 7 thousandths under, coming through sector 2.
Yeah, this is really, really impressive from Casadei, and it clearly was a bit of a benefit to come through Q1 as well. A little bit more track experience. Yes, the bike needs a bit more recharging in between sessions, but they have got that on track experience already. Lap time cancelled because of a shortcut at turn 10. Oh, right then. Well, this one surely isn't a shortcut. He's 0.08 of a second under now at the 3rd split then. The final one to go. Just a few more corners for Casadei. This is the last left-hander. Keep it neat through here, and then it's the double right. Let the back end reel out from underneath him and neatly through the final couple of turns, firing out the final corner. And will it be Casadei on provisional pole? The only rider yet to set an actual time in this session. He comes across the line. He does go pole position provisionally with 1 minute to go.
Yeah, fantastic stuff for Casadei. You see Torres, his teammate, has just gone up into 4th. And will Hikaru Kubo be able to displace Casadei at the top? He's lost a bit of time through sector number 3.
A quarter of a second minimum lost in the third split for Kubo. That's unfortunate for him, but still, at the moment, 5th place is good enough for him. If he gets across the line within 35 seconds, he will get one more flying lap in. We're on board with Aegerter. He will get one more flying lap as well. Currently 6th. This is no improvement for him, but a 1:43 is a decent lap time.
It isn't bad, however, the position won't be to his liking. Aegerter, well, I mean, an improvement from Matteo Ferrari in this final lap, or Canepa, Carlos or Forres. Yeah, if you're not on the first 2 rows in this class, then you've got a bit of a job in your hands.
10 seconds left to get across the line if you want one more flying lap. This will be Jordy Torres' last flying lap. Same for Kubo and Matteo Ferrari. The top 7 are split by half a second. It's as close as you like. The checker flag is out. This is the last opportunity. Forres, he's not going to put any more times in. He will start from 10th on the grid here tomorrow afternoon. But what about Casadei? Is he going to improve any more? I don't think so. But will it be his teammate who bumps him off pole position, no less? What about Aegerter? He is in the zone as well. That is a very impressive lap time. It's gone away from Torres, but still Aegerter is in the zone as well. He could take this pole position, could the Swiss. Will be on the way to perhaps taking his first victory since 2020.
Yeah, Torres had to pass Zanoni, and you wonder whether that cost him a little bit of time. He is really pushing hard coming into the final Recordamont section. He's over the curbs there, but I think he's still within track limits just there at that point. Torres comes across the line.
Where is he going to place Casadei? Well, he's celebrating, but will anybody bump him off? He's probably celebrating just the front row. We're on board with Aegerter then. This is it. So the final couple of corners, the final left-hander, he can lose it. It can all come away from him in this final sector. Keep it upright, keep it pinned. He's a 10th under at the third split. 2 more corners, 1 and 2. Hit the apex, no shortcuts. Don't go over track limits. Fire it out the final turn. Here he comes. Will it be pole for Aegerter? It's second for Aegerter by 1,000th of a second. So Casadei can celebrate fully. It's pole position for the Italian.
Fantastic stuff from Casadei. Aegerter give it absolutely everything towards the end of that qualifying session. Just 1,000th of a second in it over a lap of 1 minute 43 seconds. Impressive stuff once again from these Moto E machines. And well, Aegerter, who was staring at a potential 3rd row start, manages to stick it on the middle of the 2nd row. That'll do very nicely indeed.
That was very, very good indeed. They were absolutely wringing the necks of those Moto E machines, weren't they? Absolutely sensational, so it was. The fans have actually all stayed out. I mean, this is probably all the lot from the campsite. They're here for all 4 days. Domi Aegerter fan club are well chuffed with that. The Domi fighters, he likes to call them. Well, they call themselves. We're not sure who gets to name what your fans are called. But anyway, plenty of fans still here left watching this Moto E action. They're loving it. Casadei's loving it. Of course he does. And how about that? Top teammate Jordy Torres, who qualified in 5th, comes to congratulate his teammate.
Yeah, Torres' lap time just got away from him at the end of that session. You feel he was maybe penalised ever so slightly for having to overtake Kevin Zanoni, who he basically shadowed for the majority of that qualifying session. But yeah, Torres, even when he did pass Zanoni, still lost a couple of tenths of a second in that final sector. But 2nd row isn't too disastrous for him. Of course, this was the scene of his first Moto E World Cup triumph back in 2020 on that ridiculously dramatic final round, double header. And well, I mean, take your pick, man. Any of the first 7, I think, could be race winners tomorrow, possibly. Yeah, I reckon so. Gosh, Neil, you've been spending too much time with me in the commentary box. 7 riders you're pitching for a potential victory. Goodness me, it's like me in Moto 2. Yeah, exactly. Impressed by that man that was just on our screens there, the 21 of Kevin Zanoni, making his first trip into Parc Ferme in the Moto E category, of course. And yeah, comfortably the best we've seen of Zanoni in this category, but I would say, Matt.
Yeah, very impressive from him, and he's certainly coming on a lot. I did wonder how strongly he'd be able to perform in his sophomore year in Moto E, but I think he is really, really impressing. Actually, you can see out a commentary window for me now to get a Moto 2 prodigy, clearly good friends with Jordy Torres. He's come to congratulate him on his qualifying performance down in 10th.
Yep, absolutely. Quite a few of the Grand Prix establishment out watching affairs here on this beautiful sunny afternoon in northern France. Just back to Zanoni. He did come from Moto 3, of course, in the Italian Championship, and we know that these are obviously pretty big, heavy machinery compared to Moto 3 bikes, and that is a pretty big adaptation to make. So, yeah, obviously it was going to take a bit of time for Zanoni, but he's starting to look pretty strong here, finally, in 2022.
The adaptation, classic mistake, classic Morrison.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's, this is Part Ferme then, and you got Casadei from Aegerter and Zanoni. Worth noting, Eric Granado starting from 4th position. That's pretty good from the Brazilian as well. He'll probably be quite chuffed with that. And then Torres just behind him and a Kubo in 6th. Ferrari, though, 7th place for him. It's hard to tell who's going to be disappointed with this qualifying session today, Neil, because actually, if you are on those front 3 rows, generally speaking, you're in the fight. You can do it, a podium or a victory, if you get a good start. But hey, well, set up very nicely for tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, one thing for sure is the Dunlop chicane always guarantees drama in this Moto E class, especially on the first lap, maybe on the second lap. That is... yeah, that is Kevin Zanoni, just in conversation there with Paolo Simoncelli, team owner, of course.
For some reason, I thought Zanoni was really tall, like over 6 foot. But yeah, he's not. He's like my height, which is about 5'7".
The really tall one's Alex O'Screech in this grid this year. Alex O'Screech is really tall. Like, I feel like I'm looking up at a tall building. In a great way, though. But yeah, definitely got an extra challenge as Alex.
Well, that's how we feel about Neil Morrison in the box. But the good thing is he doesn't get on a motorcycle for a living to go race it. So there we go. Nicolo Canepa was one of the riders that went down in the Dunlop chicane previously with Aegerter, wasn't it? Previous memories from Le Mans they were sharing on Instagram before this weekend. Tommy said, yeah, it was really nice to have my bike and Canepa's basically on top of me at one point.
And we just saw there Suzuki and Bastianini standing there waiting to greet their mates. Their great mate, Mattia Casadei, pole sitter here in France. It's been a fine day for him coming through Q1. It's been a fine day for this man as well. That is Kevin Zanoni, 3rd place on the grid for this weekend's 2 races, and he's in Parc Ferme with Fran.
He is indeed, and it has been a fine weekend. Congratulations, a first front row and some really great speed here at Le Mans. What are you expecting from the races, and how does it feel?
Yes, I'm super happy because it's my first row of my career in MotoGP. So last year was a little bit difficult for me because I start from Moto 3 and after Moto E, and this is the first great result. So I'm so happy. It's only a qualifying. So tomorrow we need to do a little bit better, but I'm so happy. The team work very well all the weekend. In Jerez the same, and I'm super ready for the race.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, Fran. Thanks as well to Kevin Zanoni. First ever front row start for him in Moto E, and you can see he's really starting to look at one with that bike. He always impressed me when he made his wildcard appearances in the Moto 3 World Championship, man, aboard that Italian TM machine at Mugello and Misano, of course.
I was surprised he never made it full time into Grand Prix, but maybe this is a route over for him, who knows. Number 21, finally looking pretty strong and adapting well to Moto E. And there are the 3 buddies, Tatsu, Casadei and Bestia. There we are. But we're going to talk to Dominic Aegerter with those luscious blonde locks. He's down in Parc Ferme with Fran.
Yes, those luscious blonde locks are indeed back in Parc Fermé on Friday, I should say. Congratulations, Domi. Front row after a bit of a more difficult qualifying in Jerez. Are you happy with that, and how are you feeling for the races now? It's a good view to turn one from the middle of the front row.
Yeah, of course. The team, the Dina Untitled GP team, they make a very fantastic job. This morning I was struggling a little bit. The cool condition was not so easy for me. But yeah, we managed to get second place. So for the Saturday and Sunday race will be a good starting position from the front row. My pace is also quite good in these 4-5 laps qualifying. So I'm very happy to start in front row, and I hope I can fight for the podium or for the victory. This is my goal, and yeah, let's enjoy. The fans here is very great. Thanks to stay after MotoGP and all to watch the electric race. So I hope you're cheering for me tomorrow, and salut à tous.
Thanks very much. Congratulations.
Thanks, friend, and thanks to Tommy Egerter. Well, yeah, there is a couple of fans cheering for you here this weekend. We just saw them on our screens, Tommy. I'm sure they'll be sticking around tomorrow and Sunday for the two races that we have, of course, this weekend and at every weekend in which Moto E is present. The next one, of course, coming up will be Mugello in 2 weeks' time. So we've got an all-action start to the year, don't we, Matt?
Oh, it's just non-stop. It's great. Plenty of Moto E. It's fantastic. Always some of the best racing that you're likely to see. So competitive. Some cracking overtakes. If you've never watched it before, well, I don't know why you're watching this session as your first one. Go and watch some of the races highlights on YouTube and come back and watch it tomorrow. Absolutely brilliant it will be, as was Casadei in this qualifying session. Great stuff from him. Pole position, Q1 to Q2 to pole. He's with Fran.
He is indeed. Well, I spoke to Enea very briefly in pit lane, and he said he's come from Q1 and now he can get pole, and you did. So congratulations. How does it feel, and are you ready for the two races here in France?
Yeah, I'm feeling very good. This pole position is for my team, because at the start of FP2 I made a mistake and I crashed in the fast corner in the track, and they made an amazing job to recover the bike, and this is a P1 and it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's gone pretty well now. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, quite the turnaround then for Mattia Casadei. Crashed at turn 1 earlier today to pole position.
Nearly crashed again in turn 1 in qualifying.
The prediction of his good pal Enea Bastianini was on the money. Pole position then for Casadei tomorrow. Can he get his first victory in this category? He has been knocking on the door, especially in 2022. He does look more competitive than he's ever done.
Closer than ever to victory in Moto E. Might go and ask Enea Bastianini for his tips for the win tomorrow and put some money on it. Hey, kidding. Here are the final results then from Moto E qualifying. Mattia Casadei on pole position with a 1:43.5. Near enough lap record pace ahead of Dominic Egerter and Kevin Zanoni. Eric Granado was 4th. He will start in heading the second row from Torres and Akubo, Ferrari, Canepa and Xavi Cardalux on the 3rd row. Then we've got 4th row, Forres, Escrig and Garzo, Alcoba, Pons and Herrera, and then you have Mantovani, Manfredi and Finello filling out the 18 riders that we have here in Moto E. Join us tomorrow, not just for Moto E, of course, it's qualifying day in the other Grand Prix classes as well, starting off Moto 3, MotoGP, Moto 2, FP3, and then, of course, we got Moto E Race 1 in the afternoon, also the Northern Talent Cup as well. Great stuff all across the board here in Le Mans. See you tomorrow.